No, go right! The other right! God! The DPS clipped us again. Good game, you guys. We'll try again tomorrow. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. You know how it is. When you're trying to fight a big bad boss trying to kill you and your party, the adrenaline makes you forget what's left and right, when to stack because you're busy trying to get as much damage in, the usual. But despite the countless party wipes during Enrage, Final Fantasy XIV has been one of the best experiences I can be a part of. Eorzea is a whole wide world that keeps expanding. It's not hard to fall in love with its people, places, and of course, its stories. Speaking of stories, a special one comes to mind. There once was a skilled fighter who broke through her foes with the might of her fist, the fierce Mighty. While known for her power and feline beauty, many others know her for something closer to the heart. Mighty was the author of the popular Japanese blog known as the Dad of Light Project. In Japanese, Hikari no Otosan Keikaku. The blog follows the actual Mighty, a young man, an avid fan of the game, who introduces his father to the MMO world of Final Fantasy XIV in the attempt to reconnect with his father. The blog garnered so much attention that the story was later made into a TV series, which is the main thing I want to talk about. While Eorzea is a vast melting pot of community-driven tales of drama, action, and intrigue, I think this specific one can hit a lot closer to home for those who play behind the screen, who come to Eorzea to escape the real world for even just a bit to find that sense of connection that they long for. So I would like to invite you, dear viewers, to explore what makes this series so special. Dad of Light Project.
This is my project to invite my father into the Final Fantasy XIV world, a place that I love, and go on spectacular adventures with him while concealing my true identity. It's my way of showing my father that I care for him.
The events of the Dad of Light project started in 2014 when Mighty decided to invite his real-life father into the world of Eorzea during one of the game's Invite a Friend campaigns. According to the blog, Mighty's goal was to befriend his dad in the game, bond with him by accompanying him through the game's many trials and adventures, all the while keeping Mighty's real identity a secret. The TV show aired back in 2017 and tells the story of Akio and his father, Hirotaro. While the father and son duo have shared a strong bond during Akio's youth, especially over games like Final Fantasy III, they've grown distant as time went on. Most of the time, they barely speak to each other, if not acknowledge the other's presence at all. Now a young businessman, Akio is befuddled when his father, who had been close to a promotion in his high-paying job, suddenly and mysteriously resigns. To keep Hirotaro busy at home, Akio introduces his dad to the critically acclaimed MMORPG. Seeing his dad take a liking to the game, Akio devises a plan along with his guild of friends to play with Hirotaro in the hopes of rekindling their bond and finding answers. And so sets the stage for the Dad of Light project, with Akio playing as the fearsome monk heroine, Mighty, and his dad playing as the fledgling warrior of light, Indy Jones. The show jumps back and forth between the adventures of Mighty and Indy through actual in-game footage of Final Fantasy XIV and the ongoing lives of Akio and Hirotaro. Basically a look at what the Warriors of Light do when they're AFK. Akio not only has to contend with his father both in-game and in person, but also struggles in connecting with other people and keeping up with his job. As for the Dad of Light, Hirotaro really gets into the game and gains a more confident and open-minded persona with Indy. As the relationship reforms, Akio and his dad start to impact each other's lives in unexpected ways, especially how Indy refuses to give up, despite constantly wiping out against a difficult boss fight. Akio learns how to stand up for himself, how to never give up, and how going out of your comfort zone is part of growth. Hirotaro also learns the value of playing to one's strengths, something he realized with the countless dungeons and trials he had to go through with Mighty and his comrades, all the while not knowing that it was actually his own son and his friends. I also found it super endearing that he had gotten himself an FF14 guidebook with notes on what the tank role does, who the healer is, who his fellow DPS allies are, and how to work with them to the best of their abilities. This helps him in real life too, impressing an old friend by giving a unique perspective on managing a company that only a hardcore gamer and Final Fantasy raider may have understood. And most importantly, Akio gets what he's looking for: answers. Indy eventually shares to Mighty that the reason he quit his job is that he had gotten very ill, with a sickness that requires surgery. The revelation devastates Akio from behind his computer screen and causes him to reflect on the relationship a lot more. But as Indy kept strong with the courage to keep fighting alongside Mighty and his comrades, Hirotaro finds the courage to finally tell Akio and his wife about his condition, determined to fight his illness head-on. The series ends with Hirotaro having a new lease on real life, along with a prospering online life in the world of Eorzea, which he shares fondly with his son. Whether it's with Mighty or Akio, their love is intertwined with their shared passion once more, creating a relationship reforged and a bond reborn. Into the real world, the story of Dad of Light is one that tells how bonds can be formed even in the most unexpected ways. In a fast-paced digital world, it's a story that shows even the oldest of broken bridges can still be mended. Akio's journey to reconnect with his father may have looked very different without Eorzea. Would his father have opened up to him eventually? Would his dad have gotten the strength to fight off his illness if not for the trials they've gone through as equals in the field of battle? Reality is filled with trials and tribulations that people can't just easily press reset on or be given another chance to do something again and choose differently. This matters most with relationships. So seeing two people find love again in something they bonded over in the past is something I think a lot of people can and would want to relate to. While it's impossible for people to reset, the next best thing is to forge ahead and try again. While the story of Dad of Light is almost like a fantasy based on reality, Final Fantasy XIV has its own stories that put the spotlight on the relationships between a parent and a child. The trial of Akio and Hirotaro's acceptance of one another bears resemblance to Thancred, a brooding Casanova ridden with guilt and loss, and Reen, a young girl that struggles to find herself. Only at that moment of acceptance of who they both truly are can the bond really start to mend. Then there's the fractured relationship between Alphino and Alice and their father, Fortuno. Their relationship is torn by the father's sense of duty and the twins' sense of self-worth, a mirror that reflects back on Akio's sense of confidence and Hirotaro's sense of shame. But not all parental relationships in 14 are full of spite and bad blood. Even warriors of light that walk in the shadow of darkness can hold stories of hope, like that of Sidurgu and Riel, two strange characters that form an even stranger but resilient bond. A bond that is not so different from Mighty and Indy. I feel like there's a sense of poetry around Final Fantasy and the story of Dad of Light. As a series, Final Fantasy has always showcased the strength of one's bonds among friends, allies, and loved ones. While the means and ways change from story to story, the message has always been the same. How that rubbed off onto reality, creating the story of Dad of Light, reinforces that heartfelt moral lesson even more. In the age of social media, internet personas, faceless usernames, and the line between truth and lie being blurrier than ever, humans will always find a way to form a genuine connection to one another. Surely the story of Mighty and her dad is not the only instance a parent and child have bonded in an unconventional way, even more so if it was over a video game. The means and ways tend to not matter anymore, because the end result is a timeless endeavor. And so stories like Dad of Light really happen because they do happen in real life. The many different bonds over many different characters that Final Fantasy XIV has exists because they are stories worth telling. And in turn, 14 allows, hell, even encourages players to make that genuine connection, whether it's to find the warmest of friends or the most loyal of allies or someone to call family. The genuine connection of humans starts with allowing one to love and be loved. Akio and Hirotaro took a long time to get this realization, but better late than never, I suppose. But just as any player feels triumph over finally hearing the iconic victory fanfare after a grueling battle, the fantasy doesn't begin until the one most destined to write it starts. For some, it starts with an introduction. To others, a bold first step. As for Akio, his dad, and many others, it all starts with a simple log in. Now here begs the question, does Akio reveal his actual identity to his father? The answer is, he tries. After they overcome the last stage of the difficult Coils of Bahamut raid, Mighty, in a fit of euphoric victory, calls Indy Dad. But much to Akio's dismay, his father doesn't quite get it at that moment. This of course frustrates Akio, but in the end he sort of concedes and lets it be, simply happy to be where they are. While he celebrates in the living room downstairs, Hirotaro contemplates Mighty calling him Dad, and his eyes turn heavensward. Final Fantasy XIV is a grand odyssey, spanning lands, seas, stars, and beyond. But something, at least for me, that it does so well is opening your mind and heart to the idea that life is hard. To ask why life is such is to raise an impossible question with no real answer. A riddle that not even the smartest or the strongest can figure out on their own. More often than not, they only find suffering and sorrow. What we gain and what we choose is never a guarantee. Whether through a span of years or just one fleeting moment, everything can change. But while life does get harder and the answer does seem farther to reach, it can feel close despite the distance, with the right people beside you. Perhaps for many people out there, they feel the world outside never really got them, that they never belonged. So some of us escape online, desperate to find our people. How Eorzea amongst other MMO homes feels like safe spaces for them. People love an old-fashioned found family trope because it matters. And that's why the Dad of Light show and the real story can hit close to home. Not just for me, but for many. We get a good feeling and we do the work. And if we're lucky, strangers become the very people who you want to spend the rest of your life with. And it doesn't matter that maybe you met them while taking the same monster farming route late at night, or you bonded over the same favorite character you met. As one fleeting moment can change everything for the worse, one fleeting moment can also bring hope for a better tomorrow. Whether it be through Akio and Hirotaro, or Maidi and Indy, the best of bonds comes from hearing each other's words, sharing each other's feelings, and knowing each other's thoughts. May it be to forge a new beginning, or to end a long journey. The truth about bonds is that it simply starts from knowing. Going beyond the series for a bit, the real Mighty actually does tell his father everything about who he was, about the project, and about all the people online who have come to love and see him as a guiding light to them. He simply turned to his son, tears in his eyes, saying, "Please tell everyone, thank you." So I'd like to thank you as well for tuning into this video. May you ever walk in the light of the crystal. Before we end, I'd like to take a moment for the original player of Mighty and the actor of the Dad of Light from the series, Ren Osugi, who both sadly passed away in the last few years. Without them, we wouldn't be having something to talk about today. We thank them for being a part of this story and will always remember their service to spreading love, hope, and connection in and beyond Eorzea.